The downing of Flight PS752 represents yet another link in the chain of crimes that have victimized the Iranian people. 176 innocent lives were lost on the cold morning of January 8, 2020. In an unprecedented example of state crimes and aviation history, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards shot down Ukrainian Flight PS752 only 3 minutes after takeoff from the Tehran International Airport. Thus began a painful journey for the victims' surviving family members who deserve justice through a transparent, impartial trial. Within hours of the downing of Flight PS752, the Iranian government set in motion a machinery of deceit, lies, and distortions. Their domestic propaganda machine and foreign apologists and operatives were mobilized to whitewash the crime. After 3 days of denial, and only under international pressure, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards of Iran finally admitted to the downing of the passenger airplane, but they refused to comply with international law and regulations and insisted on human error as the cause of the downing without any transparency or cooperation to produce evidence. The world faced an absurd situation where the very perpetrators of a crime were given the responsibility to investigate their own crime and produce a report on how their own military apparatus shot and downed a civilian airliner. Within months of the downing, the families took it upon themselves to form an association, and with the help of hundreds of volunteers and tens of thousands of supporters and donors from around the world, they embarked on the long and arduous road to justice, a road without a roadmap. When the Iranian government published its final report that was no more than an attempt to whitewash their crime and shield the implicated high-ranking military and political officials, Dr. Agnes Callamard, the UN Special Rapporteur on extrajudicial, summary, or arbitrary executions, put the spotlight on the tragedy.
The reckless nature of the mistakes have led many, including myself, to question whether the downing of Flight PS752 was intentional.
Mr. Ralph Goodell, Canada's special advisor to the Prime Minister, published his responding report that highlighted numerous unanswered questions and emphasized the shortcomings and inadequacies of Iran's final report. Mr. Goodell remarked that Iran's final report was shambolic. The association held a press conference on November 24, 2021, to unveil their 24-page fact-finding report. The report was the result of selfless collaboration between the association's fact-finding committee and military, aviation, legal, investigative, and forensic experts who donated their time and expertise to the association. The association continued its insistence on the need for a proper investigation by an independent international body to address these shortcomings and reveal the truth. On September 14, 2022, the association filed its submission to the International Criminal Court on the basis of allegations of war crimes and crimes against humanity after months of investigations and consultations with expert lawyers. The submission provided more than 90 pages of evidence and analysis against those who had a role in the downing of Flight PS752. To date, none of those affected countries have submitted a letter of support for this submission, and the court has yet to review and respond to the submission. In mid-September, after the brutal killing of Mahsa Amini by the infamous morality police in Tehran, a revolution erupted in Iran under the banner of women, life, freedom. By the 1st of October 2022, tens of thousands of people gathered in cities across Canada and the world to stand in solidarity with their courageous compatriots inside Iran in rejection of the Islamic Republic regime. By October 22nd, over 100,000 demonstrators assembled in Berlin. The Iranian diaspora around the world united and compelled the global community to stand with the women and youth in Iran who are on the front lines of resistance despite the brutality facing them. Finally, on December 28 of 2022, there was a breakthrough. The 4 affected countries led by Canada issued a diplomatic note to the Islamic Republic state, putting them on notice to commence proceedings according to the Montreal Convention, holding them criminally responsible for the intentional downing of Flight PS 752.